Hi guys, Tired Narc Hunter here. I wanted to start this week's episode with some good news for a change. I know it's been bad news for a while here, and I actually just had a passenger who has been working in the restaurant industry for 19 years, he said, and hated it, not surprisingly, and he has decided that he is going to open up his own record shop. And I was like, well, congratulations, good for you for getting away from, a really toxic environment and starting up your own business. That's pretty cool. In case you guys didn't notice, I also uploaded a separate short video from my dash cam that is of me almost getting run into by a UPS driver who I'm pretty sure didn't know I was there from beginning to end. He never even looked in my direction, so it was a pretty scary moment there, and I had a passenger too, so that wasn't fantastic. But I just wanted to let you know, if anything like that happens, anything exciting, I won't make you wade through an entire episode in order to see it. I'll just post those things separately. So this week we're going to visit the country club. It's kind of a nice ride going out there, and I have a regular who goes out there for work, so I went ahead and recorded that trip for you later on in this video. Right now, I thought I would just go ahead and talk about some of the more interesting experiences that I've had that I failed to catch on my dash cam. One of them was when I was almost hit by a giant school bus. So there's this very narrow four-way intersection that I encounter all of the time. And I went just a little bit over the line that you're supposed to stop at, because I was pretty certain that I was going to be able to make my left-hand turn while I still had a green light, and unfortunately I ran out of time, which, I didn't think much of it. I was only over it by about a tire's width, Then around this corner comes an entire freaking, what I call a flat-faced bus. And he just kind of comes around the corner and he just stops. He just stops right in front of my car, and he's gesturing 2 inches from my windshield, well, this is your problem, you're gonna have to get out of my way. I'm just like, where am I supposed to go? I've got traffic backed up behind me. And I looked back, and the driver behind me was kind of indicating that there was some room for me to back up. So I was like, okay, don't really like this very much, but here we go. So I tried to pump my car uphill, just a little bit. My car is the kind that it will roll downhill both ways. So I was just sort of trying to edge it carefully uphill and not hit the car of the person behind me. And I got as far as I wanted to go, and I didn't want to go any further because I've got, a bicycle rack in the back, and I didn't want to stab the car behind me. So I just stopped and was like, okay, we're gonna have to try this, since the bus was not willing to move. And he went ahead and made that turn. He must have been 2 inches from my front bumper coming around that bend. From now on, whenever I encounter that intersection, I always make sure to be way behind the line, just in case that ever happens again, because I really don't want to have to go through that again. Another time at an intersection actually very close to that one, I was behind a rather large SUV, and I suddenly noticed he's starting to drift downhill, kind of like my car does, but he just kept on drifting, and I was like, I don't think he knows he's drifting, so I tap on the horn to let him know what's going on. He's still not stopping. His car is just inching closer and closer to my car. So I lay on my horn to get him to stop before he hits my car. Fortunately, he did hear that, and he sort of waved, and he got back up where he was supposed to be. But that was a new one. I've never had someone just, accidentally drift back into me, especially at a busy intersection. I don't know what he was thinking, but another close call. Another incident actually took place in this very parking lot where I'm at. It It was not my incident, though. It happened right in front of my car. It was just this little old lady and this guy, and I think she was just not looking where she was going, and before they knew it, there was just like a tiny little fender bender. But it happened right in front of my car. I would have captured it on camera, but at the time I did not, consider that to be worth saving. But from now on, if anything like that happens in front of me, even if it's not even my car being involved, I'll go ahead and save it. Anything that looks remotely interesting. You get to see a lot of things when you're out on the road from 6 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock at night. So always have that camera rolling, never know what you might see. I mentioned Misadventures in a previous episode, so I'll go ahead and wrap up with this very interesting misadventure that I had with this wonderful young lady whom we'll call Joan. And Joan is very sweet. She's a student, and this particular day she was moving out, as many students were that day. And she needed an Uber ride to take her stuff from her apartment to the storage unit that she had rented. And it was pouring down the rain that day. And the street that we needed, there was a cop at one end and the other end communicating with each other, because the street is so narrow that only one car can fit. And what's worse, there's almost no room to turn around at the end of it if there's any cars parked in the back at all. So they had a real pickle on this day, with all these students graduating and all these students moving out, trying to get every student and their mother and the car into that street and back out again. So poor Joan. I think altogether that poor girl must have been stuck with me for an hour and a half. Well, first, this lovely lady assumed that Joan was done with her moving cart and kind of took off with her cart, and so she only moved about half of her stuff into my car for trip number one. So mind you, we're dealing with this extremely narrow street situation twice because of that. But she didn't have the heart to take the cart back, and I felt that. I think the cops were doing the best that they could. They were out there in the pouring rain. This particular cop didn't even have a raincoat on yet, because he said he had not had time to go and get his raincoat out of the car. I finally saw him walk back to go and get his car, and of course, the moment he did that, that's when there was kind of a traffic jam at the opening of that street. That figures. Now, my car is not a small car, it's a large car. And in order to get out of there, we must have squeaked past, I don't know how many cars, by inches. And by inches, I mean on the one side, I can feel my tire rubbing on the curb, and I'm just hoping and praying on the other side that I'm not about to brush up against the other person's car, because I literally cannot move over any further than that. Inch by inch, mirrors folded in just in case. My gosh, it was quite an adventurous day. Fortunately, Joan was a wonderful young lady, and we had a great conversation and a great adventure, because she's very, very smart and very spunky, and we made a great day out of it. I actually got to pick her up after that at her new apartment and got to talk with her again. Very nice young lady. It's funny how if you have just one misadventure with somebody, it's like you've created this bond. Like, we'll always share that crazy day in the pouring rain when we tried to move her out of her apartment and the cops were struggling and the traffic was thick, Oh gosh, it was just so funny. I'm glad that I was able to spend that day with her. Alright, so this is our trip to the country club. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even really know what a country club does. I mean, it pretty much just looks like another golf course. But, hey, yeah, maybe when I'm in that income bracket, I will discover the secret of what goes on at country clubs. In the meantime, I'm kind of excited for next week's video.
I actually got into a really exclusive golf course. The kind with a locked gate and everything. So that was kind of wild. So I'm very excited to show you that next week. In the meantime, I am just here to kind of ramble. I don't really have any specific plans on what to talk about. You could just enjoy this beautiful scenery. Honestly, this is one of the prettier roads that you can travel in Morgantown. There are a lot of nice roads in Morgantown. There are a lot of not nice roads in Morgantown. One of them is a road that's called West Run Road. It's very close by here, actually, and as much as I would love to avoid using this road, unfortunately, it's a convenient shortcut to so many places that I can't really avoid it, unfortunately. And what's bad about this road is it's about a lane and a half wide, which West Virginia is really bad about having these roads that are only a lane and a half. Where I come from, that doesn't seem to really happen. The worst I had ever seen, I think, before that is, they just don't paint lines on the road, and you're just expected to know to stay on your half of the road. But going around blind turns with a lane and a half of space is a little bit different. So, with things like that, I understand why there are some people who really just don't want to drive a lot. Between that and, Morgantown's very prone to, traffic jams all of the time. There are people I've talked to, a lot of customers of Uber, who just adamantly refuse to drive. They've just had too many scary experiences. And I don't really blame them. If you've got a good service like Uber available and you can afford it, I would definitely, do that instead and not have to worry about the headache. Just yesterday I pulled out and this freaking guy behind me was going too fast, so he was very aggravated at me for pulling out in front of him, quote unquote, and was laying on the horn. And, it's assholes like that just kind of ruin it for everybody, and so, I get it, You got people who don't want to deal with, those kinds of road situations. Well, here we are up at the top of the country club. See how pretty it is up here. Very nice. Very nice up here. Yeah, it's amazing how much countryside is immediately available right around basically downtown Morgantown. You only have to drive a couple of miles away from the center in order to see some beautiful scenery like this, which is pretty lucky. My day consists of mostly a lot of driving on the streets and driving on downtown, but every couple rides or so you end up on a nice back stretch like this, which is really nice. We had perfect weather this day too, as you can see. And I don't know if you can hear the sirens in the background right now, but that's another thing that's very common in Morgantown. Always seems like there's an ambulance or a fire truck or a cop going somewhere. But yeah. So here we got to see one of the nice spots in Morgantown. Stay tuned. I will continue to show some of the more interesting routes as we go ahead and do some more episodes in future. Hopefully not too many misadventures, although misadventures have been fun. But yeah, stay tuned for some more.
Well, I kept this episode a little bit shorter than the other one. The other kind of ran a little bit long, so I hope that you enjoyed it. As usual, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you again for more adventures or misadventures driving for Uber next week. Speaking of people coming up with creative ideas to improve their income, I have decided to try doing some of my artwork again, hoping that maybe that would make a nice side gig to driving for Uber, maybe earn enough to cover my fuel expenses. That would be nice. I'll let you know how that goes.